Hello, so in this video I'm going to talk about one of the most common questions I get, which is people say, look, I've watched your videos and you often talk about how driving comes from a childhood event or a past event, but I don't get it. I just don't see what that has to do with anything. Well, I understand this is confusing if you're not used to this stuff, because I work with this all the time, but if someone tells you that your fear of driving is from dropping a spoon as a child, you think, what? That sounds crazy. Well, let me explain more. My name's Paul and I work online with people all over the world to help them overcome their fear of driving. And not always, but in most cases, probably over 90%, it comes from a past event. And even when it doesn't come from a past event, it actually does. It's just you don't actually get to know what that event was. So let's take this example, and this is what I've made up, but it could well be a real thing for someone. Let's say that we start off, we do it backwards. So I say to you, okay, your fear of driving is because you dropped a spoon on the floor as a child. That sounds crazy, makes no sense at all, and people think you're weird. And I say, this bloke's weird, what's he on about? It's nothing to do with that, I need to go driving, I need to do driving lessons. That's because I've told you the answer at the beginning. You've missed out all of the steps that would make that make sense, and it doesn't make any sense. This is why you can't just tell people the answer to the problem, and it doesn't matter how many times I say this. I still get people emailing me saying, I want to know what the cause of my driving anxiety is, can you just tell me? And people think that there is just one set cause for everyone, and everyone's got the same, and it's just like this secret that I only tell people once they've paid. That's nonsense. That's not how it works at all. Let me explain this one about the spoon. So let's say that we get talking and someone gets a bit emotional when they talk about the driving anxiety. We can link that emotion back. Now how you do that I've covered in other videos, and that's a whole course of videos really. You'd have to learn how to become a hypnotherapist. But that emotion that you're showing is linked to something that happened when you were a kid. So let's say a memory comes up in your mind of when you dropped a spoon. And when you dropped the spoon, it upset you, but why? This is where people go wrong. They say, well, I don't understand what that's got to do with anything. Well, you see, when you drop the spoon, what you may not realise, and what a therapist would help you to realise, is that maybe one of your parents shouted at you, and that made you sad, because as a child, and this is the key thing, as a child, as I go past a child, they don't see things the way you do now. And this is what you must understand. You see, when you're an adult and you drop a spoon on the floor, you probably wouldn't care less. You just get another spoon, or maybe say a naughty word or something like that. You wouldn't cry about it. But as a child, you dropping a spoon on the floor might upset you because your parents shout, and because you're younger, you get upset because you're not as experienced and as old as you are now. You view things differently when you're a child. So that experience stays with you, and you learn that dropping a spoon on the floor made you sad. Now one day, years later, maybe 30, 40 or more years later, you're driving, and that feeling, for whatever reason, comes up. Now people say, why would it come up? We don't know for sure, it's all theoretical, but the theory is that maybe something was on the radio, the same song that was playing around the time the thing with the spoon happened. Something happened which reminded you of that. Maybe a familiar smell in the air, maybe a colour you saw, it could be anything, we don't really know. You don't have to know exactly what it was. Now, that then links the feeling that you had as a child with driving. So you see, when I drive, imagine I've got a problem now. When I drive, I'm reliving the feeling of being a child who's dropped a spoon and the parents are shouting at them, and the child goes into fight or flight mode and they get upset and they just go into themselves, as you say, and they feel stressed and they hide and they think, well, I can't go to my parents because they've been angry at me, and they look for solutions internally. That's how it works. Now, if you don't understand that, doesn't matter. You don't need to. You don't have to understand how therapy works for it to work. I've had clients who say, I've got no idea what you just did. I don't know what you're talking about, but I've been crying. I've had this thing about a spoon come up and I feel great. Thanks, but I've got no idea what you did. You don't have to, okay? This happens subconsciously. I understand what's going on, but you don't have to, because if you're not a hypnotherapist, you might think this just sounds crazy. So don't worry if you don't understand it. But that's how a memory from your past can cause problems now. Another way of looking at it is simply you're living as a child when you drive. So people say, well, why would I get upset when I drive? Because you're not you when you drive. Because imagine when I accelerate now from 20 to 30, it triggers off you being a child. You go back to your childhood, and I am now effectively a 5-year-old driving a car. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be if you were 5 years old and you were driving a car and you couldn't even reach the pedals and you had no idea what you were doing and you didn't know what driving was? You'd be terrified. That's why you're terrified now, because you're effectively becoming a child, but you're still driving a car while you're a child. So that's how it works. So if it makes no sense, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to. But that is how it works. Check out these other videos on the screen now for more help with driving anxiety. And if you'd like to work with me one-to-one online from anywhere in the world, you can contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.